Brandon, have you seen the new Vince? Is it Gilligan? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, it's Gilligan, the Breaking Bad creator. Better Call Saul.
That's right. Yeah. Have you seen his new show, Pluribus?
I keep hearing about it. People keep telling me I have to watch it, and I've watched the trailer, and I want to watch it. And I'm not joking. Like each of the past 5 nights, I've wanted to watch it, and I haven't had a chance. Have you watched it? And is it as good as the hype says it is?
Yeah, I couldn't wait to watch it. Huge fan of Breaking Bad. Huge fan of Better Call Saul, and just the way that Vince directs TV, like his episodes are so cinematic. They're just so well done. So I watched the first 2 episodes. After the first episode, my jaw was on the floor. It was insane.
Really? I know the basic premise is Rhea Seehorn, who is in Better Call Saul, and she's great, is basically the only unhappy person in the world, and the rest of the world is trying to convert her to being happy, right? That's like the basic setup?
That's the basic setup. That's right.
Okay. All right, cool.
And it's one of those things where the episode itself, like you kind of understand the premise and you kind of know where the episode is going because you've read the premise of the show. But as it unfolds, just the way that the story is told, the way that the suspense builds throughout the episode, you just cannot tear your eyes away from the screen. It is intense. It's incredibly well shot. It is great. Find time to watch it. Maybe just skip the game tonight, just watch the show instead.
Yeah, who cares about SGA versus Luka, Thunder Lakers,
yeah.
ESPN.
It's not a big game.
Yeah. Okay, forget it. We don't even need to talk the rest of the pod. I'm actually, I'm going to take off the rest of this week.
Welcome back to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, publisher of Daily Thunder, and I'll be your host today. Alongside me is Daily Thunder beat writer Brandon Rabar. Brandon, good to talk to you again. Missed you last week. You had a great show with Ryan. How are you today?
Hey, thank you. Yeah, it was fun to go old school with Ryan, but you were missed on the show last week. I'm doing well. Thunder are rolling. We are talking the day after the Thunder look like they're in a completely tier of team than the Golden State Warriors. These are not the Warriors of the past, and this is not the Thunder of the past. So yeah, really looking forward to Thunder Lakers tonight.
Well, we'll get to that preview of that game, but we'll start with the last 3 games the Thunder played. So when you talked to Ryan, you covered the Thunder's first loss of the season, that loss to the Trailblazers. November 8th, Thunder played the Kings. They bounced back with a blowout win, but the highlight of that one was Isaiah Hartenstein. He had a career high 33 points. He had 19 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 3 blocks. He was a monster.
He was unbelievable that night, and it was fun to watch because, he was creeping up on his career high in the second quarter. I was like, oh, he's going to beat his career high. And then you're like, well, maybe he can go for 30 tonight. Then he goes for 30. He ends up with 33 and then 19. I was a little bit bummed. The only downer part of the game was it was such a blowout in the fourth quarter. He didn't play much in that last period. He really had a chance to go for 33 and 20 or 35 and 20. But he ended up with 33 and 19. He was unbelievable. He really dominated that early second quarter. He scored the Thunder's first 10 points of the second quarter, and they were just feeding him. Like the Kings had no answer for Isaiah Hartenstein.
Yeah, what do you think the secret was in that game to Hartenstein having such a big performance?
I think it was a couple of things. I think that he was very aggressive. I think that the Thunder realized he was cooking, and so his teammates were looking for him. They were feeding him. And I think it was that combination. His little push shot was working. But then also the Kings defense is really bad. So it was kind of a perfect storm, especially their interior defense. So I think it was a perfect storm of he was cooking, he was feeling it, he was aggressive, his teammates were looking for him, and Kings defense bad.
Well, the Kings were a little bit pesky to start. It looked like maybe they might stay in this game. And then that second quarter, the Thunder absolutely ran away with it from a 40-24 margin. but the Kings were, a little bit shorthanded. Sabonis was out. But how about Russell Westbrook? Do you think that Westbrook is actually a good 3-point shooter now?
I don't know if I would go that far, but I think that Russell Westbrook is a good 3-point shooter against the Thunder. This is the second game. And we saw it with the Nuggets last year, too. He did the same thing when he was with the Nuggets last year against the Thunder. But he hit 3 threes in the first quarter of this game. He did the same thing in the first Kings game earlier this year. Now, as the game went on, he didn't keep feeling it. He wasn't still on fire from 3 for the rest of the game. But he started off hot in both of these games. I do think that he's turned into a very solid corner 3-point shooter. Like, when he's like catch and shoot in the corner, he's become a really reliable 3-point threat. And I think just overall, and by the way, recording this on Russell Westbrook's 37th birthday, so happy birthday, Russ. I think that he's really become underrated given his, situation as far as didn't sign until the very last minute with the Kings, minimal contracts the last couple of years. Like what he brought to the Nuggets off the bench last year, they probably don't make it past that first round matchup with the Clippers without Russell Westbrook. He was big for them. He was great off the bench all year. And he's been really, I would say, the Kings' best player in the early part of this season. So I think Russell Westbrook has actually become a pretty underrated player at this point.
I don't know if you agree. I'm sure I'm not the only Thunder fan that feels this way. Yeah, Russ goes off against the Thunder. He shoots really well from 3. When he shoots it and it goes in, secretly I'm happy.
Because he's going to keep shooting?
No, because I like Russ. I want him to succeed. I don't
want
him to win the game.
I didn't know if you were going for the joke thing or if you were being the serious thing. Yes, I do.
No, serious. Yeah.
Yeah. I think most Thunder fans, like the perfect scenario when the Thunder are playing Russell Westbrook is that Russell Westbrook has a great game. He goes off. He looks great, but the Thunder win. And that scenario has actually worked out really, really well over the past couple of years. We saw it in the playoffs with the Nuggets. Russ played well. Thunder win the series. We've seen it in both these Kings games so far. Russ has played really well. Thunder win easily. So kind of win-win for Thunder fans.
The other thing I wanted to mention on this game was A.J. Mitchell led the team with 3 steals. I mentioned this in my recap of the game on dailythunder.com. But is A.J. Mitchell underrated as a defender? Because he has a pretty good feel for how to disrupt passing lanes. He has a lot of deflections, and I think it culminated in the Kings game with those 3 steals.
Yeah, so I agree. Coming out as a prospect from Santa Barbara, it's so funny looking back on it now. Like, how did he fall to the second round? It was only because he was older for a rookie and because he played at a small school. Because if you look at all his offensive numbers, he was doing what he's doing now in college. He was putting up big numbers. And it was this versatile skill set that we saw offensively as far as the shooting, the playmaking, driving to the rim, scoring at all 3 levels, the playmaking, all those things. The one question mark would have been his defense, and he's become, at the very least, I would say a neutral defender to very much a positive defender, somewhere in that range. And you're talking about, a guy that the Thunder have locked up for 3 years for under $9 million total, and is playing a vital role. And on this team, you had to play defense. And a lot of defense, is effort. It's basketball IQ. It's knowing where to be and when to be there. And AJ has all those skills and qualities. And I think that the fact that you've got a guy that you got in the second round who right now is maybe the front runner for 6th man of the year, but he's also playing really good defense for this Thunder team. It is just such an embarrassment of riches for the Thunder. I imagine 29 other teams are looking at AJ Mitchell off the bench and saying, the Thunder just won a championship and they added maybe the 6th man of the year. And he plays positive defense too. It's absurd.
Yeah, but absurd in our favor, so I'm very happy with it. So let's move on and we'll talk about the Thunder's 114-100 win over the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, who built a 19-point second quarter advantage. Thunder had to storm back in this one. They did it with their typical recipe of a big third quarter. But, they took a early punch. They fought back, kind of prototypical Thunder, never down and out of any game.
Yeah, it's so funny, and I said this somewhere else. I don't know if it's because the Thunder have just conditioned us all to believe that they will win no matter the score, no matter how much they're down, that they're going to come back and fight and scratch and pull off an improbable win, or if it's the fact that the Grizzlies have conditioned us to believe that they're going to lose, even if they're up big, especially to the Thunder. But I kind of never had a doubt that the Thunder were going to win this, even when they were down 19, which is just ridiculous. If a team's down 19 at any point in a game, you should feel like, at the very least, some doubt that they're going to pull it off. But I just didn't. I felt like the Thunder were going to make a run at some point. The Grizzlies were kind of uncharacteristically hot from three. And of course, the Thunder weren't making any threes, but you felt like a run was coming. And eventually it came before the first half ended. They got it to a place where it was manageable. And then in the second half, the Thunder just blew them away. As we've seen, Ja Morant did not, in fact, have OKC figure it out.
Yep, you took the Ja Morant joke away from me, but I'll let you have that one. Ja, not great in this game. SGA, however, great in this game. I don't know if you saw it. If any of our listeners missed it on the recap on dailythunder.com, I'm plugging the site for some reason, but pulled an old Reddit post on the NBA subreddit with the question, very simply, is SGA at Ja Morant's level? This was posted 3 years ago. I think we know the answer to that question. SGA is not on Ja's level at all, because Ja is 3, 4, 5 floors below SGA.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny. Jerry Ramsey, he's been on this podcast before. He works for the franchise radio station here in Oklahoma City, and we used to have a long running debate. And this was during the rebuild years when, like the hardcore Thunder fans / Thunder reporters that were watching the games and like looking at like the context of SGA and how he was playing, despite the fact that he had no spacing, despite the fact that teams were like doubling him because the Thunder had no other threats. Like he was playing with, we've seen like the pictures of the lineups that the Thunder were throwing out there during the rebuild years. But the underlying stats, the advanced stats showed that SGA was a special player. So I used to debate, SGA and Ja Morant back in that day with Jerry Ramsey, and he hilariously still tries to, every time the Thunder and Grizzlies play each other, I usually get a tweet or a text from Jerry trying to kind of rekindle the old Ja versus SGA flames, even though he knows that he lost this argument like 4 years ago.
Well, props to Jerry for trying to stick to it. But yeah, I think he lost that one. And how about the Thunder too? They shot 23% from 3-point range, just 43% from the field overall. They trailed by 19 points, as we mentioned in this game in the second quarter, where ESPN had an 88% chance that the Grizzlies were going to win. And yet the Thunder still win by double digits. I don't know. Superlatives, I'm running out of words.
Yeah, that's the thing. Not only did they come back from a 19-point deficit, but they win by 14. A 33-point turnaround from the second quarter on is just ridiculous, especially given the fact that this was in Memphis and given the fact that, Ja Morant was on the court, Jaren Jackson Jr. was on the court, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jalen Wells, Aldama, Coward, who's been great for them as a rookie, by the way. So they had their guys. Vince Williams Jr. played. And of course, the Thunder's still down. They didn't have this night in particular. They didn't have Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, and of course, Jalen Williams. And they flip a 19-point deficit to a 14-point win. It's just incredible how this team can do this mid-game.
Let's move on to last night's home win over the Warriors. Another dominant win for the Thunder. They won 126-102 in a game that wasn't even that close. Now, I'll start with this. The Warriors are 6-6 now after this game. They're 1-6 on the road, but they've got Jimmy Butler, they've got Draymond Green, they got Stephen Curry. Kuminga some pretty good skill set last night. I mean, they got Buddy Hield. This is not a bad team, is it?
No, it shouldn't be a bad team. And, here's the deal. 2 of those losses were without Steph Curry, one to the Kings and one to the Nuggets. So they're 6-6, they're 6-5 going into that OKC game. And 2 of those losses, again, were without Steph Curry. So they were 6-3 with Steph Curry going into this game. I'm sorry, that may not be right. It's something close to that, 5-3, something like that. Point being, if you look at how they played last year, once they got Jimmy Butler post All-Star break, when Curry and Butler were on the floor together, this was a great team, and we saw it in the playoffs. They upset the Rockets in the first round. Now, I don't know how many people consider that an upset because people weren't, fully bought in on the Rockets in the playoffs, but they did upset the number 2 seed. And who knows what would have happened had Curry not got hurt in the playoffs last year, if they could have beat the Wolves or not. We don't know. This should be, on paper, a really solid Warriors team between Curry and Butler and Draymond Green and Kuminga and Pods, Buddy Hield, and these role players. But watching these 2 teams last night, they look like 2 completely different leagues. I mean, the Thunder just outran them. They just ran them off the court. They look like they're in different leagues. Thunder just completely dominated this game. I know that, Thunder fans have some past trauma, of course, with the Warriors and Steph Curry and bombing threes. This Thunder team, without Lou Dort and Jalen Williams, they're 2 guys that made all defense last year. Without those 2 guys, they held Steph Curry to 11 points on 4-13 shooting, 1 of 5 from 3. Ousmane Dieng had as many 3-pointers last night as Steph Curry did. This is a different Thunder team. This is a different Warriors team. I think this is a pretty good Warriors team. I think last night just speaks to how dominant the Thunder are, more so than, any sort of weaknesses with the Warriors. Although, there are some weaknesses for sure. I think that the Thunder are just that much better, honestly. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and the Thunder have been elite this season. They are now 11-1 on the season. They have maintained their 75 win pace. They have started to really just destroy teams after early in the season, those first 2 games being double overtime wins. And as you mentioned, they've been doing it with so many key players missing significant time. J-Dub hasn't played all season. Chet has missed a number of games. Lou Dort has missed a bunch of games. Aaron Wiggins has missed a bunch of games. Alex Caruso has missed a bunch of games. And this team is the number 1 team in net rating in the NBA, the number 1 defense in the NBA. We talked about the Thunder's potential and how many games they might win this season. And I kind of said, hey, this is a team that needs to build for the playoffs, right? And they don't have to prove anything in the regular season. They just need to make sure they go into that playoffs healthy. But the way that they've started this season, the way they're running over teams and kind of finding their form, I don't know. They might just accidentally, not even intentionally, win 75 games this season.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you look at it, they're not like gunning for that record because they are, taking advantage back-to-backs. We don't know who's going to play yet tonight. The injury report hasn't come out yet. But like Chet hasn't played on back-to-backs. Caruso hasn't played on back-to-backs. And they're going to be conservative and cautious with any sort of bumps, bruises, and injuries because they have the depth and because, they are prioritizing health in the playoffs for another championship run, as they should. And yet, because of the talent and the depth of this team, the fact that you have guys like Aaron Wiggins and Jay Will and Isaiah Joe and AJ Mitchell coming off the bench, they, like you said, just may mess around into 70 wins, 70 plus wins. Who knows? I'm not saying they will or they won't, but they absolutely have the potential to, just because the depth and talent of this team, even if they're not really trying for that sort of record.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's helped the Thunder is just how many weapons have developed already early in this season. But, SGA is consistent. Like, we can talk about SGA and his performance every single game on every single pod because he is excellent without fail. I mean, everything in his life is consistent, as he said. He had 28 points last night against the Warriors. Could have easily had more, but he sat the entire fourth quarter. 28 points, 28 minutes, a pretty typical Shea-type night. He also passed really well with 11 assists. They've gotten good consistency out of AJ Mitchell, who hit 17 at the scoring average this season. He consistently has been hitting double digits. And then you have like an Isaiah Hartenstein blow up one game and score 33 points. Or, Chet has put 21 and 23 the last two games. He had a great night last night, Chet did, with 23 points on 9 and 9 shooting. It's just, you got weapons everywhere. And even when somebody's out, somebody's going to step up, like Joe has been shooting really well. Like, I don't know. I feel really, really good about how the Thunder won a championship last year. And it was sort of house money the following year. This is a team we know how good they can be, but we already know they proved it by winning a championship. But I have been pleasantly surprised at just how good they have been, despite all the adversity with the injuries so far this season.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons that the Thunder could have not been off to an 11-1 dominating start. Championship hangover. We've seen it multiple times in multiple sports. You win a championship and you don't come in as motivated or hungry as you were before. Being the hunted instead of the hunter, having the target on your back, getting the opposing team's best every single night because they want to take down the champion. Like you said, all these injuries. Your second best player has been out all season. And, we've discussed it, but all the multitude of injuries to key players all season. And yet this team, it's just in their DNA to play hard and try to win, not only every night, but every possession. They really do. Like, it is in their DNA. The way that they have bought in, the way that Mark Daignault coaches, the competitive edge that they have, the youth, the talent, they just want to go out and win every single game. It doesn't matter if it's, against the Warriors and Steph Curry, or if it's against the Hornets. Like, they want to go out and win every single game. And that competitive edge is still there, despite winning that championship. These guys, I think that you had the championship, but I feel like they're trying to build legacies here. Like Shea could get into some pretty interesting conversations if he wins another MVP and or championship. J-Dub gets into more interesting conversations if he racks up another All-Star, All-NBA accolade. Lou Dort with his All-Defense accolades, and Chet possibly going for his first All-Star, being in the Defensive Player of the Year running. Like, I'm not saying that that's what motivates them, because winning is what motivates them. But Shea has said this over and over, along with winning, that then the other things fall into place. Like, those accolades will fall into place, but it all starts with winning, and that's what they want. And they can build a legacy here with this Oklahoma City team. So yeah, they're young, they're hungry, despite already winning a championship.
And I like what you said about how it's in their DNA. I think it is. It's not a switch that they have to flip to get ready and focus and try to win a game. That's just who they are. It's built right into, as you said, their DNA. And it makes them really fun to watch, really fun to root for. Happy to be a Thunder fan, But admittedly, we are 12 games in. There's still a lot of NBA season left to play, but I feel very good that they didn't have that championship hangover and they are off to the start that they are. I'm going to catch you off guard right here. So, did you know that there is a player that the Thunder, when he's not out on the court, they are 22-1 without him?
Yes,
that is Jalen Williams.
Yeah.
So, should the Thunder trade Jalen Williams? Is he expendable?
Absolutely not. Anybody who watched the playoffs last year knows the answer to that question. The Thunder do not win the NBA Finals without Jalen Williams. They don't beat the Denver Nuggets without Jalen Williams. Yes, the Thunder have been dominant in the regular season without Jalen Williams, and that speaks more to, I think, one, SGA and how he can provide you 30 points and a win any given night, regardless of the circumstances. I think it speaks to the depth of this team and the other all-star talent and Chet and guys like Hartenstein and Dort and Caruso and Wallace and AJ Mitchell up and down the roster, the depth, the talent. We talked about these things. But when you're playing the Nuggets, when you're playing the Timberwolves, when you're playing, these top tier teams, the Knicks and the Cavs and fill in the blank great team, you're going to need Jalen Williams. And when you're in the playoffs, you're absolutely going to need Jalen Williams. I know this was a joke question anyways, But for anybody who has seen the 22-1 stat and wondered, no, absolutely not. J-Dub is not expendable. Yes, absolutely. J-Dub is essential to the Thunder's championship aspirations.
Yeah, and I brought that up because I'm going to guess it was AI generated. I'm not even sure what this website is. It's called NBAanalysis.net. But they ran an article that with the Thunder being 21-1 at the time without J-Dub, they, quote, might consider trading him for depth soon. So that's just all kinds of hilarious, right? We're not trading J-Dub, and we don't need to trade J-Dub for depth.
That is hilarious. Yes. Again, it's a non-starter, never trading J-Dub, but to trade for depth is hilarious. When you're talking about the deepest team, the biggest problem the Thunder have right now as far as the rotation goes is not having enough minutes for their depth. Like if Topic was healthy right now, if Kenrich Williams was healthy right now, like how are these guys getting minutes on this team? If this squad is completely healthy, everybody deserves minutes. Everybody is an NBA at worst role player, rotation player. The one argument, some people may say Oos doesn't deserve rotation minutes. I would argue because of his youth and the upside that he's flashed, and because the minutes that he's played, he even deserves rotation minutes. Maybe not on this Thunder team, but I think that he'll find a landing place in the NBA somewhere that gives him minutes, and he'll continue to grow. Point being, trading for depth is hilarious when you're talking about this Thunder team. That is funny.
Speaking of the Thunder's depth, and this is the real reason I brought this up, was Isaiah Hartenstein has been incredible this year. He's been off to a great start. I'd say he's been better this year than he was last year, at least over this 12-game stretch to start the season. The Thunder have a team option on him for next season, and looking at the financials in the 26-27 season, the Thunder are way over the cap. They are way over the tax. They are way over the second apron. And Isaiah Hartenstein, if they pick up the option, would be due $28.5 million, which coincidentally, if they didn't pick up his contract, the Thunder would be under the second apron. Now, with the way that Hartenstein has played, do you think that changes how the Thunder think about Isaiah next season?
Oh, I think that the fact that this double big lineup, their chemistry continues to grow, and they look more and more like a dominant force working together. Like we're seeing, we didn't see them on the court a whole lot last year, and they kind of worked it out on the fly during the playoffs, and it worked. But man, they look really, really good together right now. I think that the Thunder always knew they had this in Hartenstein, though. I don't know that it necessarily changes as far as the plans for the future. I will say this. I do believe that Thomas Sorber was drafted, with the idea to possibly be an Isaiah Hartenstein replacement. If you looked at like his strengths, very similar to Hartenstein as far as like being a big that can play make, score at the rim, provide rim protection. But with him not playing this year, that'll be a question mark going into next year. And yeah, the fact that Isaiah Hartenstein looks this good with Chet, maybe that was the one question mark. They knew what they had in Hartenstein, but maybe not necessarily exactly how Chet and Hart would fit together in the front court, having two 7-footers. Seeing that it's working so well, I believe it's going to continue to work well and even better and better as they grow their chemistry. Does that shift, some sort of plans? And maybe you're like, okay, well, maybe we need to find a way to keep Hartenstein and shift other contracts around or move other players around. Possibly. And possibly the fact that you have a guy like AJ Mitchell step up and you realize, okay, you got him for 3 years on a great contract and you can count on him on the bench. And maybe some things change. I would say this as far as the Hartenstein question goes. The Thunder have a lot of options. They've got a lot of great contracts that are very appealing to teams. They have a lot of depth and they have a lot of flexibility. So I don't know if, they end up keeping Hartenstein, but I would say keeping Hartenstein is certainly an option. I don't think it's just this given that Hartenstein is going to be gone after the season, like I think a lot of people just assumed because of the contract situation. Also, the fact that that last year of Hartenstein's contract is a team option. We've seen this Thunder team do the decline and sign extension a lot with players. So you could decline that last year and maybe, his average per year goes down a little bit. I'm just throwing this out. Don't quote me on this. But let's say instead of paying him, $28 million for that last one, you extend him for 4 more years for $25 million average. So he gets long-term security in a place he really enjoys where he can win championships. And he has the long-term security at still a really nice contract. Like that could be an option. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's a given that he's gone.
Yeah, totally. And I think you mentioned that the Thunder have options. They do have options. I mean, some of these options do, if they want to get into that second apron, do result in losing some players that we have known to grown and love. I may think you can decline Dort's team option and Kenrich Williams' team option. That's $25 million as well. That puts you under the second apron as well. You've got Ousmane on, he's a restricted free agent, and his kind of cap hit right now is pretty significant, which is impacting the numbers some. So, the Thunder do have options to lower the impact, and they also have potentially a number of first-round draft picks in. And so if you let some people go, you preserve the core, you fill in the roster with first-round draft picks, and so you still have, your 15 players in your two-ways, and you haven't really added a bunch of new cap costs. I mean, those are the things the Thunder can explore. But yeah, the way that Hart has been playing, I think, has generated the question of, okay, the thought was maybe you develop Sorber. You have to look and analyze whether his contract is worth picking up next season. But if he continues to play this well, it would be really, really hard to let him go.
It would be hard to let him go. He's proven to be a pretty essential piece right now. One, because the way that Chet and Hart look together, but then also, just having that insurance in case of any sort of injury for any sort of time. We saw that last year. He's a great player, and he is so involved in the Oklahoma City community, and he has been such a great locker room presence. He is like all the things that you would hope and want for when you get a free agent like this that can push you over the top to win a championship, both on the court and off the court. So I know that the team highly, highly values Isaiah Hartenstein, both who he is as a player and as a person. And, surely that'll be a part of the process as far as like decisions being made and things like that. But yeah, he's been fantastic.
Well, let's go back to Jalen Williams. So, when he got that update and had the subsequent, I think, procedure to remove that screw that was causing an issue in his wrist, the timeline was another update in 10 to 14. That happened, I think, was on October 31st. And so we're about in that window when we might expect another update on J-Dub. He's been getting shots up at practice and in games. Do you think he's close?
I believe he's close. Yeah, because the update came on October 31st that he was going to be reevaluated once Dr. Shen took that loose screw out of his hand. That sounds funny to say, loose screw. That was 12, 13 days ago, and we were told 10 to 14 days he would be reevaluated. And the fact that he has been shooting with his right hand and the shots look good, you got to believe he's coming back soon. I don't know when that is, but I do believe that he will be back soon. And that's all I would say for sure. So very encouraging that the Thunder are 11-1, and sometime soon they should be adding a third team All-NBA, second team All-Defense, and an All-Star to the lineup.
And then Dort and Wiggins and also Kenrich Williams, but the injury report is now live, so we're recording this on Wednesday afternoon. Dort is listed as out, Wiggins listed as out, J-Dub out, Kenrich Williams out. That's the end of the report other than Sorber and Topic. Do you think that Lou and Wiggins are going to be out for quite some time, or do you think they're going to be back soon?
I think they'll be back soon. Well, I'll say this. I think Lou Dort will be back soon because he's been listed as questionable on the last few injury reports before ultimately being labeled out and not playing. So the fact that he's been labeled as questionable, I think is a good sign as far as like any sort of long-term injury. It should be a short-term thing. Aaron Wiggins, I'll be honest, I'm not sure what to expect on the Aaron Wiggins front because we haven't been given any sort of timeline or update on Aaron Wiggins' injury. Hopefully it's not a long-term thing, obviously. But I think the fact that we haven't been told it's a long-term thing is also kind of an encouraging sign because typically if it's going to be a long-term thing, the team will let us know.
Well, let's move on and let's talk about the big game tonight. Lakers, Thunder. It's a late start in Oklahoma City to accommodate for the ESPN matchup. On the injury report, LeBron James, so there's no LeBron, but it is a Luka SGA matchup on the day after Nico Harrison gets fired as GM of the Dallas Mavericks. So what are you expecting to see tonight from the Thunder? And is this a pretty important measuring stick game for the team?
I mean, it's hard to say measuring stick for this team anymore because the Thunder are the measuring stick in the NBA now. I think it's more of a measuring stick for the Lakers. As far as or is that what you meant?
Take it however we want to make me sound smart.
Okay. I think this is a great measuring stick game for the Lakers, but it's also kind of difficult because they don't have, the second greatest player of all time playing for them tonight, LeBron James. I'm saying that I don't know if you're a LeBron guy or MJ guy, but that was a mini way to stoke you if you are a LeBron over MJ guy. LeBron, we found out, is now practicing with the Lakers G League affiliate, so he should be back soon. So we'll see this Lakers team at full strength. But Luka and Austin Reeves, former Oklahoma Sooner, have been great this season. They haven't played a whole lot of games together yet. Luka missed some games. Austin missed a game or two. I would normally say expect some offensive fireworks from Luka and Austin Reeves tonight because they've both been so good offensively this year, but they're facing the number one defense in the league, a defense that has been absolutely dominant, even without all those guys, without their two all defensive guys, by the way. Lou Dort and Jalen Williams haven't been playing, and they've still been absolutely dominant. So I'm more curious to see second night of a back-to-back, no J-Dub, no Dort, no Wiggins. Yes, they don't have LeBron, but they still have Luka. They still have Austin Reeves. I think it's going to be a fun game, a good test for the Thunder as far as the defense goes against these two high-powered players. If they win tonight, if they beat the Lakers, who've been really great this year so far early, I know the Lakers don't have LeBron, but if they win tonight, although not a measuring stick, I think this would be maybe their most impressive win of the season, given the circumstances.
Yeah, should be a really great matchup. And right now, Vegas really likes the Thunder. The Thunder are 7.5 point favorites. So I think it's a pretty generous, but they are at home. So let's look ahead to some other future Thunder games. Saturday, they travel to Charlotte. They play the Hornets. Is there anything we're talking about on that one? Or even Monday and the Pelicans? Let's get those back to back.
Anything we're looking forward to?
Yeah, what can we learn about the Thunder playing the Charlotte Hornets and the Pelicans on Saturday and Monday?
We'll learn whether they're gonna get to 14-1 or if it's gonna be 13-2 by the end of those two games. Because depending on what happens tonight, if the Thunder are 12-1 after tonight, they'll be 14-1 after they play the Hornets and Pelicans. And if the Thunder are 11-2 after tonight, they'll be 13-2 after playing the Hornets and Pelicans. I think that's what we'll learn.
Well, you look ahead at the schedule for the Thunder. It is not a very challenging schedule through the remainder of November because you got the Charlotte Hornets, you got the Pelicans, the Kings again, Utah, Portland, Minnesota, Phoenix, and Portland to close out the month. Portland did beat the Thunder, but I don't think that's going to be a regular trend. And you got Minnesota, which is a good team. Outside of that, and tonight's game against the Lakers, the Thunder should be racking up wins and should be entering December with 2-3 losses?
Which is great because Jalen Williams will come back healthy soon. So the fact that they're getting right now kind of a soft part of the schedule out of the way while J-Dub is rehabbing and recovering, and while Lou Dort is injured and Aaron Wiggins is injured, it's great timing as far as racking up wins. Like you said, it is a pretty soft schedule. For some reason, they're going to play the Kings 3 times within the first month of the season, which is just wild. I'm probably looking forward to seeing Trey Mann when the Thunder play the Hornets. Looking forward to seeing Russell Westbrook again when they play the Kings soon. But yeah, this is a very, very soft schedule lining up perfectly with the Thunder injury situation right now.
And just briefly too, looking around the league at how some of the other teams have performed, I think the Lakers have been solid this season. Spurs, I think, have been surprisingly impressive. They have just 2 losses. They're 8-2 on the year. Anybody that sort of stood out as a surprise to you? Any teams that have looked better than you expected?
Yeah, I would say the Suns have looked better than expected. They're 6-5, and I thought for sure they were going to be, one of the bottom 3 or 4 teams in the West. Now, this is very early. We've seen instances, every year where a team that eventually becomes, a lottery team look pretty good in the beginning parts of the season, shooting variants, player injuries, schedule, that type of thing. When you're working with the 10 or 11, 12 game sample size, things can get a little bit funky. But right now, the Suns look better than expected. And then in the East, I mean, absolutely, the Chicago Bulls, Josh Giddey has looked great. They have lost a few in a row now after their hot start. They started off 6-1. They're now 6-4. They've lost a few. Giddey didn't play last night. He's been great. Possible all-star this year. Great to see from Giddey. The 76ers have been better than expected, despite, Embiid working on a minutes restriction and Paul George being out all year so far. So I think those would be the surprises. The Spurs, for sure. I thought that they could be a playoff team this year if Wemby made the leap. They look great. Their schedule's been pretty soft too, so I'm curious to see what happens when they play some tougher teams. But I do think that the Spurs look like a playoff team right now, which is great. If you're the Thunder, the more playoff teams in the West that push the Clippers down out of the playoffs, possibly when the Thunder have, that Clippers pick this year, that could be a good thing for the Thunder.
Yeah, and the Clippers have not been good this year. They're 3-7. I also wanted to mention the Nuggets. So the Nuggets are second in the league in point differential at 13.3. They have the second best net rating in the league, a pretty solid 13. The Nuggets look good, right? I mean, they are a potential threat. Agree with that?
Yeah, I think that we all probably agree coming into the season that the Nuggets were the biggest threat to OKC, not only in the West, but the entire NBA. I think that the Thunder and the Nuggets are the 2 best teams in the NBA. I think that they will eventually meet in the Western Conference Finals, and whoever wins that series will become the eventual champions, because I think that they'll be better than whether it be the Knicks, the Cavs, the Pistons, whoever comes out of the East. The Nuggets also have had a pretty soft start as far as their schedule goes. Like, their toughest games, they beat the Warriors, but Steph didn't play that game. They beat the Wolves, but Anthony Edwards didn't play that game. They don't really have any big significant wins thus far. That said, I still think this is obviously an incredibly talented team. They made some moves in the offseason to shore up their weakness, which was their bench. So their bench looks much better this season. The crazy thing is the Thunder Nuggets, obviously the 2 best teams, I think, in the NBA, and they're in the same division, the Northwest Division. The top 2 MVP candidates the past 2 years and the 2 MVP favorites this year. And yet they play 4 times, and the first time isn't until February. We got to wait until February to see Thunder versus Nuggets.
It's a long time. I got a little caught off guard in the way that you said February. So
yeah, it was weird.
The first time you said it, it looked like you were really trying to make sure you got all of the consonants in that word out.
Yeah, it was weird. I really pronounced that R too. I went, yeah, yeah. I went real phonetic on that pronunciation for some reason.
Yeah, I was thinking of what I was going to follow with what you said, and then all I could think about was, wait, how do I say February? Am I saying it right?
No, I'm glad that you called me on it, because I thought it was weird too. It came out of my mouth. I was like, that sounded weird, and you had the same thought. Yeah.
Well, that's actually a really great place to end the show. And so we'll leave all of our listeners thinking, how do you actually say that word? The second month of the year, noodle on that while you get ready for the game tonight. And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, host of the podcast, and he's Brandon Rabar, Daily Thunder beat writer. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Thunder podcast on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you like what you hear, do us a favor and leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll be back in your feed soon.